This podcast is brought to you by Reimagine Radio, the online radio station that aims to give you information on disability and music. My name's Graham Wyman, and I'm the program coordinator with the Vancouver Adapted Music Society. Today on Reimagine Radio, we're joined by special guest Sylvie macCormac, and Dave Simonton will also be participating as well. Welcome back, both of you.
Thank you. We did that in unison, Dave.
Make a song out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Discombobulated soundscape.
So, tying in from last week's segment, Sylvie, in 1999, you were awarded the honorable mention at Concours International de Musique Electroacoustique Bruges. How was that, and what piece did you get that award for?
So I'd composed a piece called Waves of Kokoro with the voices of Barbara Bourget and Jay Hirabayashi from Kokoro Dance. Kokoro in Japanese means mind, heart, spirit, soul. So I created a text and I asked them in to record them. So with their voices, I used the sounds of the seascape, crows, and seagulls. And through their experimentation, I recorded crows, and then they'd start sounding like crows, like crow, 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 and wonderful things. And I used Barry's granular synthesis, so granular synthesis. I can't explain it. It's so technically complicated, but I used that piece. So you can basically stretch sounds in time without changing their pitch.
Okay.
So you retain the same pitch, but you're working with the grains of sound. It's really beautiful. It can just, it opens up your imagination, because some sounds are recognizable and some are so extremely, it's funny because in electroacoustic, I don't mean to jump places, but in electroacoustic, we use the same machines as the the pop music field. So when we called them sound signal processing, you call them effects. So it's like effects is sound signal processing. So when I did that piece, I used my own text and some from the Book of Exeter, which was like a 10th century Anglo-Saxon poetry. And one of the words in it was, and translated English, Skywalker, are you here, Skywalker? What do you hear? And that was in there. And now, the Exeter Book of Exeter is recognized as in 2016 it was one of the Book of the World's Principal Cultural Artifacts. So I had used a bit of text from that way back in 2000, and so that was the piece that then I sent to the competition in Bourges, France. And miraculously, I was a girl with guitar, so then I went to SFU, and then I sent a piece off to France, and I received honorable mention, right?
Yeah.
So it was like I was surprised, amazed, honored, and I don't know.
No, that's very exciting.
It was exciting, yeah.
Now, I know in our last segment you said that you first heard of VAMS, I believe, in the Georgia Strait.
Yes.
Now, do you remember your first session at the GF Strong Studios?
So that's what's so funny, because I thought of this idea when I heard the radio ballads, and then went to Sam Sullivan to meet him in the office and started the Wheel Soundscape project in 1998, 10 years after Dave and Sam had created it, right?
Yeah.
So during 10 years, I met Dave. I met him at Chan, and and then years later, I went to VAMS to do the feather with Dave as my first session as a client.
Okay,
So I had been a
gotcha.
member and sort of, I don't know, a composer in residence, infamous composer in residence. And I did this project.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to actually go into the studio and to explore with Dave as a volunteer there, to explore it from the client's perspective and be, just really explore the music there. Yeah, it's, and the studio now is like advanced. I was just thinking that, there's if you Google eContact 11.2, it has a interview with Calvos and Damien from Vermont, which was, and it was done, and then eContact put it on their site. So it has information about VAMS and my journey in the wheel soundscapes, and as a moving from girl with guitar to a woman soundscape composer. And so yeah, Google eContact 11.2 macCormac or VAMS macCormac, and you'll get there, and yeah.
Okay.
And Calvus and Damien is now off the air, right? But they were running for Long Top, and they were known as the non-pop. It was just, they're amazing. So that's Dennis Bathory Kitsch, a composer from Vermont.
Plays it all. And then Sylvie and Dave, maybe you can comment on this as well, but you guys first met at the Chance Center, and I believe, Sylvie, you said it was for a VAMS event. What was, what do you kind of remember that first meeting?
I remember the event. I mean, it was a VAMS concert. I think I was playing with Jeff and maybe a couple other people. I don't quite recall. And there was a number of guest artists, including, I forgot his name. Was it Saul Ferreras? The other percussionist?
What year was it, Dave?
I think I was still working at UBC, so it was probably 2002 or so, 3.
So this would have been pre-strong sessions, I guess, eh? Was this kind of what fed into the strong sessions with other musicians accompanying?
I think it was kind of to show collaboration with other musicians and to just do a showcase of a variety of different VAMS artists. So yeah, it was one of the earlier versions, I guess, of strong sessions.
And at that point, I would have been standing and still playing guitar. Yeah.
I think you'll have to go back in the archives to find out who was all playing. I've never seen any photos from it that I could recall.
Okay.
And I remember meeting Dave in the green room and talking, and him saying we should play music together. And I was like, yeah. And then it happens 12 years later, right? It's like, when you say, let's go out for tea, and it's like, it doesn't happen. And then months later, you actually meet for a cup of tea, right?
Right.
Suddenly we're at an old folks' home sitting across the table from each other.
Oh, we met each other through the years, right?
Yeah, so I think we just, it's like opportunities to play together. Yeah, there's always the desire there, but sometimes it's just the right project at the right time has to happen, and then it just becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious how, for the last year, from what I've seen on Facebook, it seems you go out to Horseshoe Bay a lot, but to do some soundscape and some other work, and I'm just curious how you've been, with COVID, and I'm sure, all of us, we're having a lot of ups and downs, but how has it affected your creative output and your passion and all of that? Sorry?
I was just leaving that space open to hear the crows singing there. It's quite beautiful.
Right by my left side.
I hope you'll use some of this in the interview, Graham.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna cut that part out.
It's great.
Yeah.
Especially that crow, right beside you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
COVID, by the way.
What's that?
That was the crow. He was complaining about COVID.
Yeah. COVID chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about playing, I had actually, after the Feather, I'd hoped we would play a bit, but we didn't. And then COVID happened, and now it's like they say that the future of music is doing, like you see these people, like playing in a place and you can log online rather than live, live streaming and playing with each other from across the world in a variety show of various pictures of people anyways. And so what have I been doing? Well, for a while there, I was just not doing much of anything like everybody else except, hanging out at home. Mm-hmm. And so I did a piece. I heard a call for some art. So I did a piece called Quarantine Blues, and it was a soundscape. And so I had clapping in it, and it went to a website. But since I started it before COVID, and that's why I was going out to Horseshoe Bay, I'm composing a piece which became larger than I imagined, which I'm quite happy to do. I was going to do a composition of Statlium and Lillooet composer and indie pop musician Russell Wallace, who just came out with an album called Unseated Tongues, which is really incredible. He's using Statlium language, Lillooet language with kind of a pop jazz feel. It's really cool if you just want to Google Unseated Tongues, Russell Wallace. So I started out making an audio portrait, and he's got like 50 recorded tracks. So choosing all the edits of the tracks, and I'm making a piece of him, but I'm also doing a lot of research. So I'll be making a kind of an electronic book, which includes the composition and a story by myself, and then pictures, still pictures, and links to all of his compositions and his albums. So you can kind of read that sort of as an academic book. And I don't know whether I'll finish this. Well, I definitely know when I finish it will be 2002. I'm going to release it on the 30th anniversary of my first cassette album, which was called Coastal Chants.
Right.
And Coastal Chant is also in the Feather and redone. I mean, that was the second version of Coastal Chants. And so in the 30th anniversary, I will release, I don't know what I'll release besides this wonderful piece that I'm working on. And I'm not saying wonderful because it's mine. I'm saying wonderful because I'm so honored to work with Russell Wallace's. He gave me permission to work with his music. And so his mother wanted to record the traditional songs, and her voice is so beautiful. And so by doing this, it feels like important to me to recognize the beauty of his music, and then the history, her wanting to retain her language, right, and the music of the language, right? It has so much meaning. And so I'm still in the middle of it. And so I was going up to Horseshoe Bay. Its traditional name is Chaksai, and because it's on the border between Lillooet and Squamish, and so I felt closer, and it's such a beautiful, quiet environment. for every one person in the West End, if I sit at a coffee shop, if I do the same at Horseshoe Bay, so I have 1,000 people here crossing me by in 5 minutes, whereas there it's like it was so quiet, and I'd see eagles and birds and starfish, and I got to know some of the villagers, and it was a really nice place to study and work. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to finish this piece at SFU or Squamish University or Capilano, but I feel like it's an academic work, and I'm really excited by it, like the things that I've been learning. And so I'll write about it, as well as doing the composition and pictures, and my bad sense of humor, I call myself a very bad Irish comedian.
Well, no, I mean,
I'm curious, again, another question I have is, because you've often asked me, and I think a few other people that have been on some of your projects, when you're promoting things, what are my top 3 songs of yours? And I'm curious it's probably like in this moment, but what songs for you have been sustained and most meaningful, I guess, for you that you've written and recorded?
Oh boy. Well, I'd
tomorrow. I'm just where you are today with.
I almost want to turn that question back to you and ask you, because I don't know. It's like, oh, there's this and there's that. I don't know. I couldn't. It's yeah.
I don't know. They're all well. That's kind of like, for me. They're all so good. And I usually, when you've asked me, I'll say Coastal Chant. Normally, that's my answer. But pretty much anything off that album, any of your albums.
You know what's funny about Coastal Chant is I wrote it in '92, and then Mazzy Star came up with an album in '93. And you know how you go to the New West, Southwest by Southwest and everything. And all of a sudden, '93, they come up with an album. And then, years later, my nieces said, we heard your song on a show on TV. And I listened, and Into the Dust sounds like the exact chords of Coastal Chants, but the pitch is lowered and the melody is different. And I researched this, and people who said, oh, I've had tons of people lifting this and that. You go to a court case and it costs you $50,000 for you to pay. And, it's like, you can't copyright a chord arrangement, which is what Coastal Chants was based on, was a chord arrangement that I created way back when. And that chord arrangement, you can't copyright. You can only copyright a melody, right?
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? There's another song, right? Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So touching.
Well, they're all good. Anyway, I really was honored to be part of that project and everything.
Thank you. Well, likewise. Thank you. It was great. And the co-founder of VAMS, no less.
Whoop-de-doo.
Well, that is a big deal, because look at all of us, what beautiful noise we've been able to make since, because you and Sam started that. We wouldn't be here.
I'm constantly amazed how it was just kept going, and of course Graham just been going nonstop, and without people with passion and drive, it wouldn't happen. So it's been amazing.
Yeah,
it's a lot of great opportunities.
Well, it first started with you and Sam, but no, it's such a gift to work with people like Sylvie, yourself, and to be a part of, say, the latest edition of The Feather, or again work with you, Dave.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I
Now,
was humbled when you started talking about years, like the history of pushing whatever 35 years.
yeah, I think it's 33 because we had the
Wow,
30th.
33.
Yeah, it's amazing to think, and I've only been a
98.
part of it for 7.
98. Started in 88. Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah, the new studio will be. I'm not going to give any dates, but let's just say when COVID is backed off, we'll be back in the studio and doing live gigs again.
Mm.
now, speaking of live gigs, is there a particular live show that Horizon played that was a memorable for yourself, Sylvie and Dave?
I love the one that we did at the Kickstart Festival, which was the really big gig. And you can go to YouTube and see individual songs or the whole of the performance. Yeah, so just Google YouTube Horizon Sylvie McCormac and you'll find that there.
Okay. This is the round
in the pardon, pardon?
at the Roundhouse with
At the Roundhouse Kickstart.
With the I forget his name now, the other violin player.
Thomas Beckman, and Thomas Beckman played on the feather too, yeah. And he joined us at the Roundhouse for that gig, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one of my favorites too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the backstage lounge.
Yeah.
So to end our second segment, Sylvie, we are going to be playing Wheel Number 7 with Dal Richards and Friends. Would you mind letting our listeners know a little bit just about the piece and how that came about?
Well, so that is again a soundscape. It's a Wheel Number 7. Mm-hmm. And I asked Dal Richards if I could work with his material. So from Dal Richards and Friends. And so I chose a few songs. And it's funny because Jim Burns is singing on one of the songs. So I worked with a couple of pieces. And then again, the sounds of trains. And I wrote some script. And people with disabilities, over 100 people, oh, wow. Voices, groups of children. So I wove their voices all together with train sounds. And I remember Dal Richards saying, if I could take a journey, I'd take a train across, the Russia, I love Dal Richards' voice. He reminds me of my father, the deep voice. Right, okay. I would take a train across Russia. So, so I worked with his material and then all the voices and then wove, and it was Wheel Number 7, which is, I quite love that piece. Mm-hmm. And so that you'll hear it.
Yeah, exactly. No, we'll be playing that. So again, Sylvie, thank you ever so much for participating in the VAMS Featured Artist on Reimagine Radio. And Dave, as always, much appreciated for joining us as well.
And a pleasure. Sylvie, can't wait to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to go for a ride through Stanley Park. Look out for the geese.
I'm on it.
Alrighty, well, thank you both. And to our listeners out there, stay safe and keep that music flowing.
All aboard now. All aboard.
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 Aboard.
All aboard.
Aboard. Aboard.
If you could go anywhere on a journey, where would you go?
I would like to take a train journey across Europe.
If you could go anywhere on a journey, where would you go?
If you could go anywhere on a journey, where would you go? To eternity.
I don't think it matters where I go as long as what's important is who I go with.
If you could go anywhere on a journey, where would you go?
Going to Alberta.
Paris.
To visit family.
I would go to experience as much as I possibly could.
My favorite journey was trekking across the countryside in a tour bus in the middle of the 80s with my band and all my friends. It was a great time. I'll never forget it.
If you could go anywhere
Best memory I have is very
where
simple.
would
If you could go
My son
anywhere
being
on a
born.
journey, where would you go? Digby Pines on the old Nova Scotia Railway.
Hitchhiking in the Sahara with maybe 1 car an hour, ending up in Morocco, and one of my favorite places there is Marrakesh.
One of my favorite journeys is riding the trains when I was a little kid from Pittsburgh to Miami Beach.
On a cruise ship on the Volga River
Are
from
you on a journey?
Moscow to St. Petersburg. One summer I had a band and played as we went down the river and stopped at little towns overnight and saw some beautiful sights and
You
learned
could
quite
say
a bit
one
about
thing on a
Russia.
journey. You could say one thing on a journey. What would you say? When do we get there? When do we get there?
You could say anything on a journey. What would you say? It has been interesting.
Wheels of life go round and round, round and round.
Are we on the wheel of life with all our words circling around us? Are we on the wheel of words with all our lives circling
Wheel
around
of life go round and round, round and round, round and round. Wheel of time go round and round, round and round.
Are we on the wheel of life?
Are we on the
With
wheel
all
of
our
life
words
with all our words
circling around us?
circling around?
Are we on the wheel of words with all our lives circling around us?
Are we on the wheel of life with all our words and circling around us? Are we the wheel of words with all our lives circling around us?
How would you describe the journey of disability? Long.
Wheels of life go round and round.
Make way for the wheelchair.
I describe it as one I don't want to take or didn't want to take. It's a slow journey and one where you learn as you go.
If you could go anywhere on a journey, where would you go? To the stars.
How would you describe the journey of disability? Discovery.
Wheels of life go round.
Make way for the wheelchair. Are we on the wheel of life with all our words circling around us?
Are we on the wheel of life?
Am I on the
All
wheel
the
of
words
life?
circling around us?
All my words.
Are we on the wheel of words?
Wheels of life go round and round, round and round. Wheels of time go round and round.
Wheels
round and
men
round.
do cry.
Wheel men do cry. Wheel women do cry.
Wheel women do cry.
Real men do cry.
At last, what is called love? What calls us to love but the essence of nature? Does the essence of nature
Are we
call us
the
to
wheel
love?
of life with all our words circling around us?
Is the
Are we
essence
on the
of
wheel of
nature
words with all our lives circling
or
around
does
us?
love call us to love?
What calls us to essence? Does the essence of nature call us to love, or does love call us
To be human, one is essentially being and thinking
Wheels
and
of
loving.
life go round and round, round and round.
It is sound
It is
time
sound
I set
time
myself
time, and I
free
set
into
myself
silence.
free into silence.
I can go no further only to discover,
sound time that I've
find
set
and lose
myself
again what
to
we may
silence.
already know.
Silence. What ancient echoes call us homeward?
What ancient echoes call us homeward?
What ancient echoes
What
call us
ancient
homeward?
echoes call?
Ancient echoes calling us homeward.
Now I have taken the soul train home to Canadian soil. I have taken the soul train.
Wheels of life go round and round, round and
Wheels of life go round and round.
Wheels of time
Round
go
and
round.
round.
Wheels of life go
Wheels
round
of
and
time.
round, round and round.
Round and
Wheels of
round.
time go round and
Round
round,
and round.
round and round.
Dal Richards here. I hope you've enjoyed the music of my band and the songs of my exceptionally talented friends.
Aboard!